Roscoe here. I'm gonna do the counter team part of my kind of beginners series for PvP pet battles. Now I've not done every counter for every pet or comp we might kind of run into because it would take far too long. I've tried to stick, and I think I have stuck to the kind of the 29 pets that you're most likely to have really. I think all but 4 or 5 of them used in the kind of the pet battle guides and stuff. When I looked to see kind of what was used, some of these pets aren't going to be too great for PvP. So things like the Zeppelin I probably wouldn't use. Maybe not the Spirit, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and use some teams to kind of show what you can counter. And I've got 5 counter teams here to actually show what you could use to, perhaps if you're coming up against the same people or same opponents, what you could try and use. So the first team is a counter team to a Bone Serpent. Now the Alpine Foxling is very strong against a Bone Serpent because you're always going to be quicker than a Bone Serpent without any kind of speed debuff or increase. You've got the crouch to take the damage from like the Nocturnal Strike and the Bone Barrage, and then the flow does strong damage to the Bone Serpent. There's also a Rabbit on the team. This doesn't have the damage reduction, but it does have the kind of evasion, the dodge, the burrow, and it also does strong damage against undead. So kind of like your Bone Serpents and things like that. And then also to kind of finish this team off, I thought, well, what else could I potentially put on here that's going to be good against Bone Serpents? Kind of like holds its own as well. So I mean, these pets in a way do help each other with the speed. You've got kind of the dodge and things like that. The heal, to get heals up on both of these two, and the haunt as well. So I thought, well, a Wicked Soul, because you can haunt say the Bone Serpent that comes in, so it's already going to be ticking damage, and then that's when you could potentially swap to say the Rabbit or to the Foxling, and then use one of the mitigation and just go for the damage. All the time that's going to just be ticking off a little bit more damage each round, so it may get it to its racial quicker, meaning you're not going to take loads of damage on either of these pets. And then you could potentially heal up and then continue with what else that the opponent has. So yeah, this is kind of a good kind of Bone Serpent team. Maybe you could potentially drop the Rabbit, but this is kind of a team that I'm only using these pets from, so I've got a kind of limited selection. But if you've got a massive selection, you could perhaps think, well, I need something that's strong against magic. And in this list there's these 3, but in the whole game there's loads. So the second team that I've created is an Emperor Crab counter team. Now you can kind of run into Emperor Crabs and they're very tanky. They can kind of take all this kind of dot damage and things like that, and they do a good kind of whack of damage. So you see none of these are using priority moves. This could have, but because of the surge I opted not to. Now the Bone Serpent is a great counter. It is a really strong counter to an Emperor Crab, because the Cool Darkness reduces its healing, and then a Nocturnal Strike does strong damage to it. Icky, or any kind of flyer with predominantly flying abilities, is also going to be really strong. I mean, you could even with this team run a Nocturnal Strike, so you've got the Cool Darkness, you've got another Nocturnal Strike to kind of follow it up, and it's going to be doing really strong, decent damage. I thought I'd just put this in here, so you can kind of do the flock and things like that as well. This team hasn't got quite as much kind of synergy as perhaps the first team, but these teams are less about synergy and more about having pets that can kind of counter the most common that you face. And then another fairly strong kind of counter to an emperor crab, I find, is actually a iron starlet. The emperor crab only has a single attack ability, so it could only ever do one hit against you. It could be quicker with the surge, but all you need to do is wind up, supercharge, and then wind up again. And that damage is going to be really, really strong. It may be able to just survive it, but I would have thought it wouldn't. And even if it does, you can then wind up and wind up again, and then there's almost a certainty it's going to be dead. But I'd imagine just the wind up supercharge should do enough damage to potentially kind of take it down so it can't heal up. A counter to the Fiendish Imp. So the Fiendish Imp is the pet where it can swap you out, it can use the human racial to kind of heal you up, or heal itself up. So the pets that I've chosen, now the Wicked Soul is probably the best counter. Slightly quicker, the strong damage, you can haunt it, and then you're going to be doing ticking damage. It's going to be really, really strong. And then you could potentially use one of these pets to kind of follow up. So you could use the Cool Darkness to reduce its backline healing that it would be getting, and also it does weak damage against the Phosphor Rat. In turn, though, the Phosphor Rat does weak damage against the humanoid. So this is good for the darkness to really get its kind of healing ability, or the ability to heal and backline, just really reducing that down. The other good option is a Zandalari Ankle-Ender with a Wicked Soul. So there's a haunt on there. The next ability is a Black Claw. That's going to be doing really strong damage to it. You could do that, or go for a hunting party. You've got a hunting party, it's going to take double damage for 2 rounds, and then they may swap you out. If they don't, it's going to do even more damage to it. Generally, I'd probably go with the Black Claw, because then even if they do swap you out, they've got this massive amount of damage potentially coming into them, and then you could use the flow of the Phosphor Rat. It's going to do that much more damage, probably take it down. The next team is a Terraclaw counter team. Now Terraclaws are really pretty common in the queue. They are one of the strongest pets. So the pets you can potentially put in a team to counter it. A lot of these do counter it quite well on its own. The Emperor Crab, it does and doesn't. Once the ratio of the Terraclaw hatchlings up, or the Nature's Ward, you do a lot more damage with your Surge. But in turn, if they're running the Alpha Strike, you're going to be taking more damage from it. And then every time you try and use one of your Shell Shield or Healing Waves, you could run the risk of taking kind of double damage and more damage. The Proto Whelp is really strong. It takes weak damage from the Terraclaw. You've also got your Emerald Presence. You've got that Emerald Dream potentially to heal you. And then the magic damage, it likely won't be with its flying weakness. So it won't be weak to this once it gets its heal up. And generally they'll try and have those heals up running the whole time. But this is going to be really strong against one. It's not going to be able to take you down. I would probably run a PS because you're going to be quicker than it. But I mean the PP is likely to do the job as well. So, and then the final pet is the Alpine Foxling. This pet is actually quicker than a Terraclaw once its Dazzling Dance is up. So then the Alpha Strike is really reduced, and then your Flurry is always going to get an extra attack. You can throw out the damage reduction. The Dazzling Dance is good for the other pets. Not necessarily on this team because they are they're very slow. The PS though would benefit quite well, so there's quite a good bit of synergy there. And then another kind of pet and kind of ability you see is the Haunt. So I mean I've got the Haunt here, but you often see Wicked Souls and Valks and other Ghastly Kids potentially. So, and this team is built in a way to actually counter that damage in those pets. Now there are several ways you can potentially deal with the Wicked Soul or Valk. One is you could start with, say, your Strider. Just take the damage on that. It's going to do weak damage. Fill up your Cleansing Rain, or use your pump. The other option is to take the Haunt on your Ghastly Kid, and you can just consume magic it off, or you could Haunt another pet, and then that Haunt comes off you, and you can spam your strong damage as well against them. So you're going to be doing strong damage, and you maybe take one tick of Haunt, and then you use your kind of ability to get rid of it. And then the Rabbit is also a strong pet against them. You've got your dodge, your strong damage. You can use your Burrow to kind of dodge like a Curse of Doom on a Valk. You can kind of avoid that with that ability as well. So these are kind of teams that specifically counter kind of some of the stronger pets in the meta, or the stronger abilities you'll come across. So that's it for this video. This isn't too long, because as I said, I'm not going to go into every single pet in the game and how to counter it. I've gone for the kind of the strongest, the ones you're going to see most often. You can still lose to these teams. It depends on what other pets they have, but this is kind of gives you an idea of what pets you may have available to you that could do well against that. So say you're getting beaten up by a Wicked Soul team and they've got Fiendish Imp, you could go, well, the Phosphor Rat does well against a Wicked Soul because it's good against undead, and it's got the cool Darkness. So, well, I could run a Raptor as well. So there's a whole kind of things you can kind of pick off and choose how you want to kind of counter that team, and hopefully you can kind of, once you learn a little bit more into the kind of what's good at matching what, type of advantage is strong, but it's also kind of the matches up with speed and stuff that's important as well. Okay, well, thank you for watching. This is the penultimate part of the kind of beginners series, so I hope you kind of got some good information so far. The next one is just going to be me kind of using these teams at the bottom here to queue. I might try some of these kind of good synergy teams or something, just to see how it all kind of fits together. I mean, some of these teams will work quite well, but I'm going to try these. The reason they've got the percentages on is kind of the percentage wins I almost expect to get from them. You can see some of them are 65%, and that's not bad. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a good team. It's probably an okay team to get 65%. I mean, these kind of 80% teams are going to be strong teams. But I'll yeah, in the next video I'll queue up these teams. You can kind of see what I was perhaps talking about. You can see how I'm going to use these pets as well, and especially if you've got them, you can perhaps say, well, this is how Roscoe's used this pet. Maybe I'll give it a go, or maybe I'll mix it up and perhaps add this or swap this out. So, but yeah, I'll do that in the next video. It's probably going to be a bit longer than these because I want to get some decent kind of battles in. I may even do it in perhaps 2 parts, just in case the queue's really slow. Because there's no point me just sitting and waiting for a queue to pop. Hopefully it'll be quite quick. Well, thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video, which is me actually kind of, I've talked about all this stuff, and now it's me actually doing some of it, and hopefully doing it well. Thanks, bye bye.